Okay, session's being recorded.
Okay.
So go ahead if you want to start, if you want to kick it off, Pete.
Yeah, I was just letting that person try to finish their connection. Looks like they're in, I guess. All right, good evening. My name is Pete Dion. I'm the general manager of Wakefield Gas and Lighting. Tonight we wanted to kind of kick off our expansion of our energy efficiency programs into the commercial and industrial sector. We've partnered with MWEC, the Massachusetts Municipal Wholesale Electric Corporation, to begin to offer these programs to the commercial side of our business. We have not had a commercial or industrial offering, since we began doing energy efficiency programs. So this is a big step forward for us. MWEC has a lot of experience, and we're going to have them speak a little bit about the structure of the program, and then we actually, one of the vendors that helps deliver the programs is on to kind of give a little quick overview of how we do things from their perspective, and just try to answer any questions that might come up throughout the evening. We're recording this, so we'll put it on the website for folks that weren't able to join. They'll have a resource, so the information will be out there, and we can save it and share it for others as we go. So without further ado, I'll introduce Kate Roy and Joe Coles from MWEC. They're the MWEC side, and they're the program administrators for this program. The way we're doing this is a little bit different because the commercial industrial side is a little bit more custom than the standard rebate program, like our appliance rebates or some of the other things we do. We're working with a third party to deliver this product, whereas on the residential side, more of it's handled internally. So in this case, we really wanted to bring the subject matter experts to the table. So I don't know if Kate, if you want to say a few words, and we'll kick it over to Joe. Or
hi, everybody. I'm, as Pete mentioned, from MWEC. I'm the Director of Communications and External Affairs, and I work a lot with Joe and his team in energy efficiency to make sure these programs run smoothly. So we're excited to be kicking this off with you all today. Joe?
Okay, thanks, Kate. As Pete said, my name is Joe Coles. I manage energy efficiency programs for MWEC and the municipal utility companies we work with. And if you're not aware, MWEC is the joint action agency that provides a variety of services to municipal utilities in Massachusetts, energy efficiency programming being one of those services. And I could tell you all about MWEC, but that would be off topic and probably not terribly exciting. As Pete said, we have two third-party engineering firms that we work with on this program. We'll talk about that in a bit. We have a representative of one of those firms, Ryan Paulin, is with us today. He's with a firm called ERS, and his team implements and oversees the part of the GO program, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So if you'd like to say hi, Ryan.
Yeah, hey folks. As Joe introduced, I work on a portion of the GO program for you folks and the rest of the participating municipalities across the state. I've been an energy efficiency consultant for 6 or 7 years now, running similar programs to this across Massachusetts and several other states.
Thanks, Ryan. Dave, do we want to start the slide deck at this point?
sure. Just by way of introduction, we've referred to the GO program. It's actually the Green Opportunities Program. So the commercial side of what we offer is called the GO program. So Joe can
Thanks, Pete. And here we go. Thank you. So as Pete said, GO is Green Opportunities. It's a series of efficiency programs that MWEC, that's the Massachusetts Municipal Wholesale Electric Company, has implemented for municipal utilities throughout the Commonwealth for quite a few years. If we could go to the next slide. So what is the GO program? That's really a good first question. And as I said, these are programs to help commercial customers use electricity more wisely. They're offered by a number of municipal light plants throughout the Commonwealth. There's our website, or our URL to our website. It's a very tricky one, mwecgoprogram.org. And we really look to do a couple of things. We look to expedite installation of energy efficiency measures that would otherwise not be affordable or cost effective for commercial customers. We're looking to reduce electricity expenses and maintenance costs for these commercial industrial customers, and help to promote and install reliable technologies and provide good advice. Over the time period 2015 to 19, the MWEC Go program has provided $1.25 million in incentives to commercial customers in Massachusetts and saved 8,886,083 kilowatt hours of electricity. I will say that just as a housekeeping item, if anyone has questions, please ask as we go. We don't have a huge crowd of people, so we can take some time and actually dive into questions and try to get good answers for you.
And I'll be monitoring the chat also, so if you feel more comfortable just submitting a question via the chat, that's fine also.
Okay, great. If we could go to the next slide, please. So why do we have a Go program? And Pete kind of alluded to this. This is designed to help the commercial industrial customers. There are a wide variety of energy efficiency programs offered by Wakefield Gas and Light, by other municipal utility companies around the Commonwealth, but they mostly have been focused on residential customers. So this gives us an opportunity to work with the commercial industrial customers. And that's valuable. They represent a significant part of the local economy. They provide jobs. Sometimes they've located in municipal utility territories because the electric rates are less expensive, but we still want to work with them to keep their cost as low as possible. So these Go programs allow the C&I customers to participate in the programs. We provide energy audits. We provide equipment incentives. That includes lighting. When there's an audit, the auditors provide a report to the building owners so that they know what their opportunities are, what the costs approximately might be, what the potential savings and cost effectiveness of a measure might be. This is also good for the local installers and contractors. It helps to make jobs work that wouldn't necessarily have been cost effective without the incentive. So we work with contractors so that they know about our programs, they know about the rebates that we're offering, and that they can help go out and sell those jobs to the commercial properties. And I guess we can go to the next slide. So what do we include with Go? Excuse me. Thank you. The Go program assists commercial industrial customers in developing projects to increase energy efficiency. That's really what we're looking at. Our customer services include incentive application, technical assistance on the project, energy audits, and reporting. And as we mentioned at the beginning, we use third-party engineering experts for audits and project review. And between the different Go programs, we'll talk about those in a minute, we can help a wide variety of commercial and industrial customers take steps to improve their energy efficiency. If we can go to the next slide. And again, if anyone has questions, please chime in, either on the phone or on the webinar or by chat to Pete. So we basically have two different flavors of Go programs, so to speak. We have a prescriptive lighting program, and we have a custom program. And prescriptive lighting is really designed for building owners who have an idea of what they want to do. They want to change out older inefficient lighting or heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems to newer, more highly efficient systems. So those programs do not provide audits, but we do provide incentive dollars for projects. It's sort of, and I'll say this not in a pejorative sense, it's kind of a cookie cutter kind of program. It's a number of dollars per lighting fixture or per HVAC unit. We do not provide quotations or installations. We are not out there competing with contractors on these jobs. We're helping to facilitate the job to occur. But if on the other hand, we have a customer, a commercial owner who does not know exactly what steps they need to take. maybe it's a more complicated building, maybe there's process equipment that needs to be looked at. That's where the custom program comes in. And that does include audits. It also provides incentive dollars for projects, and it also does not provide quotes or installation services. And if we can go to the next one.
So for commercial and industrial customers that are interested in air sealing and insulation, which program does that fall under?
That would probably be custom.
Okay.
We'd want to probably have an audit done and look at what the potential benefits are of air sealing and insulation. Are you talking about, say, large multifamily residential buildings or something else?
It could be that. I mean, or yes, it could be that, or for example, just a smaller business as well.
Okay. That's certainly something that would be looked at in custom. Traditionally on commercial industrial properties, and Ryan can correct me if I'm wrong, but traditionally in these kinds of properties, insulation and air sealing has not always been the most cost-effective measure due to the numbers of times people are going in and out of a business over the course of a day. I mean, we really have tended to focus historically on the most efficient systems, lighting, HVAC, equipment as possible.
And Joe, with the prescriptive program, the audit would occur. You would have an audit included, so you could determine whether the insulation was needed and would be beneficial, correct?
On the custom program, correct.
Yeah.
Prescriptives don't have audits. So this page talks a little more detail about prescriptive. And as I said, we cover both lighting and HVAC on the prescriptive side. These are, by the way, the most common GO projects that occur. Lighting retrofits and HVAC retrofits are relatively common in the C&I world, and there's contractors that are out there in the world selling these kinds of projects all the time. So these are intended for customers who know the kinds of steps they're looking at to change. They know they have 20 inefficient lighting fixtures in their building and they want to put in new ones, or they have an old HVAC system on the roof and they need to put in a new one or want to put in a new one. And it's really designed for this. It's a streamlined express program, so to speak, to cover these kinds of projects. Incentives are paid on a...
Joe, are these projects mostly kind of more or less sold or by vendors that typically perform the work? So if I owned a small business in downtown Wakefield, I might know that I want to save money on my lighting, but I don't necessarily know where to start or how to go. So I'm probably looking for somebody who does this professionally to come in and make recommendations on, switching to LED lighting or something for me.
Correct.
Is that how these mostly come about through vendors?
I would say for prescriptive, if not exclusively, almost exclusively. The business owner you just talked about would talk to an electrician, or maybe they'd go to their local lighting supply and get a reference there, or they talk to an energy service company or somebody that specializes in doing that kind of work. Those are the people that really know what's it going to take to change out a fixture, what are the model numbers that they want based on the particular situation in that ceiling or on that roof. And then they're the ones who have the equipment to make the change, the lifts or ladders, whatever they need to get up there and change light fixtures out. Would you agree with that, Ryan?
Yeah, that's certainly true. Most folks work through a lighting professional or an electrician. The program does not preclude someone who is handy from doing their own work, doing their own installation, or specifying what they need, so long as it still meets our rigor and expectations of quality light fixtures going in and something that we can reasonably assume is going to be a quality installation. They're certainly still welcome.
Joe, do you, as MWEC, do anything to have a quote unquote certified list of contractors or anything in that bucket?
That's something that's been talked about, but we don't have an approved contractor list or anything like that at this point. It's a little tricky in that not every contractor will cover the entire area of the state, and we're not a huge state, but it's a fairly large geographic territory for a contractor. So we're thinking about that. We don't have anything now. Obviously, if the light department has contractors that they've worked with in the past, though that would be a good first step. We do provide training to contractors on how to work with the program, what are the steps that need to be gone through, how to fill out the forms essentially. We do an annual training session every summer for contractors. And I wanted to make sure that you understood that if you have contractors now in Wakefield that are interested in participating, we can do some sort of an ad hoc training session for them as well to make
Well,
sure
let's
they're
listen
up to
back.
speed.
We invited about 60 to this area, 60 area contractors to this tonight. So we haven't had a huge turnout, but we'll use that list and keep peppering them. And maybe it would be great to know when that kind of MWEC training is for all contractors, and maybe even do a more specific one during the day sometime for local ones. If we could set it up and see what kind of interest we get in doing a training for local contractors.
Sure, we'd be happy to do that. Traditionally, we've done those as an in-person training, and we'd have lunch for the contractors to help get them to show up. Last year, obviously, we couldn't do that. We did it virtually, and it worked well. But we'll continue to do that regularly because there's always turnover both among the companies and the people within the companies, and we want to make sure that anybody who's going to be interacting with the program knows what they need to do to make it work.
If we get enough interest, well, Mark and I will go deliver them with the King Charles Cavaliers. We'll take them out for a walk and deliver the lunches.
That sounds fine.
We do have videos from a past in-person training up on the Go site too. A couple different videos on how to access the system and everything, if that's helpful. So I know we had a pretty good turnout at that one as well.
Right, that was about 2 years ago, I think or 3 years ago, those recordings were made. The program hasn't changed that much in terms of its mechanics since then.
Right.
So, as we said, the incentives and these programs are per fixture or per HVAC unit. They're limited to 50% of the project cost, and Wakefield Gas and Light caps the total incentive at $5,000. We do random post-installation inspections just to make sure everything's being installed, that the numbers match and everything's correct. Projects do require pre-approval at the beginning of the process to be eligible.
What size typically projects do you see? I see that we have a cap of 5,000. What are the typical sizes that you see? And I know businesses range from different sizes, but kind of normalize that.
Yeah, sure. We see a pretty wide breadth of businesses in the lighting program, which is probably the most voluminous. It's gas stations all the way to big box stores. So there might be $100,000 project, and if we can give them $5,000, we'll still do that, even though it might not necessarily make or break that particular project. But they all get accepted.
There's very few large businesses in Wakefield, and those would be more on the custom program I think we'll talk about later. But the typical business would fit more towards the smaller size business that we're talking about. That's the predominant commercial industrial base that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as Ryan said, the size of the buildings, the size of the projects vary widely, and we'll be able to work with any of them. And if it's a large business, it might still be prescriptive because it's prescriptive kind of change. And if it's a small business, it might be custom because the kind of work they're looking to do would fit into that area. So the prescriptive lighting programs, as Ryan said, these are the vast majority of what we do. So before we go to the next slide, are there any other questions that anyone has on the prescriptive program?
Yes, you mentioned this kind of started out as an electric energy efficiency program, but we obviously have gas as well. So are you serving all fuel types? So in other words, I'm more on the heating side, whatever fuel type the customer happens to have.
I'm sorry, I lost part of that question.
Oh, sorry. Are you serving any fuel type the customer happens to have, whether it be oil, natural gas, electric, et cetera?
Well, for lighting, obviously, it's electric only.
Right.
And for custom, it could be anything. And I believe for the prescriptive HVAC, we're looking at gas savings there as well. Is that correct, Ryan?
The current iteration of the prescriptive HVAC program looks at high efficiency air conditioning and heat pumps. It does not include high efficiency furnaces or boilers, but certainly the custom program would accept that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions on prescriptive? And since we just talked about custom a little bit, let's go to that page if we can. And obviously, as we've said, custom is designed for customers who are looking for changes outside of relatively straightforward lighting and HVAC changes. It's for customers who are looking for guidance, analysis of how they're using energy now and what they can do to make that use more efficient in the future. There are scoping audits involved here to look at the overall energy use picture of the building. Incentives are approved and completed, are approved and paid on completed projects on a per kilowatt hour saved basis. I would imagine I didn't phrase it that well, so it would be incentives, I believe, available for other fuel types as well. But again, I apologize. Most of the utilities we work with are electric only utilities, so that's what they focused on. So I apologize for not including oil and gas and other fuels. Again, post-install inspections are required. Again, we capped the total incentive. It was also $5,000. And again, we offer training sessions regularly to the contractors. Are there any questions?
How do you go about soliciting the contractor, advertising the contractors that these training sessions are available? I'm kind of thinking of some of the contractors that work here in Wakefield. Obviously we're doing some reach out, but want to make sure that they're leveraging this, know about that, and taking full advantage.
Well, we get the contractors that we reach out to about the training session in a couple of different ways. First, if the participating utility has a list of contractors that they know about, that they've worked with, or they know about in some other way, we'll use them, certainly. But we'll also use other contractors that we're aware of that have submitted any sort of project or application over the last several years. We're always looking for additional contractors that are interested. So if we're aware of them, if you know them, or if Pete knows them, please let us know about them, and we'll make sure they're on the distribution list the next time there's a training session.
Yes, and we get those lists of contractors, like you said. Any of the contractors that have worked on our previous projects, we can get the contact information from the vendors, such as Ryan.
And they were a lot of the ones that Kate shared with us, we invited, as well as some local ones. We had a list of about 60 total, I think, that we invited to the meeting tonight, but we'll keep reaching out to them. It's a combination of the list that Kate had provided through MWEC, but also local vendors.
Awesome, thank you. Can you also share, just for what sort of training is offered, some examples of enticing contractors to attend the training? What is comes along with that?
If you want to answer that, Ryan.
Sure. The focus of the training is to make sure that contractors understand the program and how to function successfully in it. So kind of the process steps that we manage. And then there's also a component on lighting fundamentals and HVAC fundamentals, so that there's at least some familiarity, if they don't already have it, with how to determine what kinds of fixtures should go in, how to assess the quality of a light, the quality of a fixture, and make sure that those kind of basics are met. If it might be somebody like an electrician who doesn't already have lighting expertise coming into the program.
And
Two questions.
one of the ways,
I'm sorry. Beg your
go
pardon.
ahead.
On your custom, are you, by the way, my name is Fred Doherty. I'm with Resource and Energy Consulting, and I'm one of your contractors. On your 5,000 for custom, typically we're a PEX vendor for National Grid, and we typically delve more in the custom. I'm personally an electrical engineer, but my question is, $5,000, do you have a per square foot along with a kWh savings on that? So in other words, if the building's ridiculous example, 4,000 square, well, no, it's not really that ridiculous. I lived in town, so I know the town buildings. 4,000 square foot will give you up to $1,500, or 100,000 square foot in Audubon Road will give you 5,000. Is it, or is it simply just on the kilowatt or the therm savings?
On the custom program, it's strictly based on savings.
Okay. Next question.
For the Wakefield
Sorry.
program, if you are looking at a GO program at another municipal territory, there could be a different answer, but in Wakefield, it's just per kilowatt hour or per therm.
Okay, thank you. And Wakefield is not a green community, correct? As of my last list, I did not. I just checked the.
Not yet. We're in the process of working on that. Jen and I were on a call earlier today, and we're hoping by the end of the year, or early next year, we'll be a green community.
Okay, and another subject, Eevee charging. Any part of this?
EV charge. We have a separate program for our EV chargers. We also have some public charging stations, although we wouldn't fund it through this, but if there are unique opportunities with developers, we are looking at potentially adding charging stations if there's a combination of public and private use.
Okay, thank you.
This is a follow-on question to that, though. If a business has a parking spot, I guess that's for, I don't know, its employees or whatnot, could it get a charger through our program or not? It's kind of a strange scenario.
At this point, we haven't allowed it, but we could look at it.
Okay.
They would have to agree to the terms of the program, where, you know, it would have to be controlled by MWEC, and in terms of when you can do the charging. So our residential charging program has controls and limits on it, which helps us in the demand management area. So it would have, if we were to allow it, it would have to agree to those terms as well.
It's probably better to design a custom program solution for a commercial customer than to just use the residential one.
Yeah, it's not really built for the outdoor parking space application.
Yep.
But the prescriptive lighting program could handle the lighting in that parking area. Any other questions on this, on the custom
We're
GO?
gonna eat all the candy, you better hurry up.
Are there any other questions, or should we go to the next slide?
Do you have any case studies that you could share with us that we could distribute in our community of, I don't know, like a business that would be broadly applicable to, like, you know, any kind of town, and the costs and the benefits and that kind of thing? Have you ever put any of that together?
Yes,
Yeah, Ryan's nodding. Yeah, I think
we do have some examples, and we actually have a Helps and Go newsletter, and we put a case study in that every single issue. So we can look back at the ones we have done, and Is there anything in particular you're looking for, or just the broad applicability?
There's probably two families of it. There's the typical, commercial space that I know Ryan mentioned, like a typical gas station or Honeydew Donuts or a small walk-in commercial pizza type place. That whole grouping of types of small commercial businesses, and then you'd have it's always interesting to share some of the custom stories as well. Some of the unique things that you've come across. When I worked at Boston Edison, we did a project with Kraft General Foods out in Framingham, and that saved that plant by retrofitting all the freezers out there. And this was back more than 20 years ago, but in any case, but those custom stories and those custom programs often provide insight to people and kind of, they give them ideas that they didn't think that, that were, ideas that they were considering before that they might all of a sudden consider.
Right. Okay. I can get together what we have. I don't know, Joe, maybe you know more about it. I know, like, for our purposes, like for the newsletter, they're pretty brief, but we may be able to dig up more details. They're kind of just little blurbs, but I know at one point we shared some things on the website as well. So I'll look and see what we have that's a little more detailed. Sorry,
I'm sure we can.
I keep walking.
I'm sure we can come up with some more details on these.
Yeah.
And I agree with Pete that the interesting stories, the interesting cases, shine light that you might not see otherwise. But the vast majority of the projects are going to be pretty straightforward, smaller commercial spaces where it's convenience stores and things like that. You change out the fixtures, you put in new ones. And in that case, these incentives really help to make those projects happen, because they up to the smaller ones, that $5,000 could be the 50% number. And that changes the entire economics of whether a project is cost effective for an owner or not. And we're seeing actual change in property owner behavior because of these projects, which is I think pretty rewarding as well. But Kate and I will put together some samples for you.
It'll be good as we try to put out some marketing material and we try to link people to Facebook and our website too, that, if they come to the site, they could see a story about, a small commercial business that might be similar to theirs that, if you have a blurb about a project that it might trigger something.
Sure.
Right. Thank you.
And custom isn't always a niche energy consumption either. It's not my wheelhouse for this program, but what we see most often through there are small commercial refrigeration. The walk-in cooler at the liquor store or at Honeydew, compressed air at an auto shop. These are custom programmed because the energy savings is difficult to predict without getting site-specific details, but they are very prevalent and applicable to a lot of folks.
That's great. We've got lots of time, so if there's any other questions.
I know we got a question today about financing and potentially or assistance in financing certain projects. And so, Mark, I know we're looking into that.
Yeah, so I've been dealing with the local bank here, Community Bank, Wakefield Savings Bank. They've been good on the residential side. I've reached out to them as far as this program goes, and it's looking like they're going to be able to do it, subject to the same limitations as on the residential side. So the bank is subsidizing part of the interest rate and providing lower interest loans.
And we pay the closing costs, so that we're trying to facilitate that work in two ways. Again, by partnering with the local bank, we're getting the slightly lower interest rate, and when we cover the closing costs.
And there's no upfront cost to the borrower. So.
On your application for custom applications, you've got 14 cents a kilowatt hour for your incentive, up to 14, you say up to. There's nothing with regard to natural gas. So do you have a number in mind?
I don't have one available right now. I've got to talk to Pete and figure out what we want, where we want to be on that.
Thank you.
Typically in a municipal our size, when they launch the Go program, how many applications both in the prescriptive and custom do you typically see in a year? I know that potentially could widely range, but do you have an idea what we could be looking at?
I can speak to that, Joe, if you don't mind.
Fine.
There's a wide array. We see some municipalities that have relatively little uptake because they put relatively little into promoting the program. 0, 1, 2, 3 projects per year. Other municipalities are more voluminous. I can say across the state, which is, Joe, correct me, it's 8 or 9 municipalities total. We see around 60 or 70 projects a year total on a normal year. Last year was a bit down, as you would expect. But that's typical.
Joe or Ryan, are there any chains out there that we would have in Wakefield that have already done these type of projects in other communities that would more or less be waiting for somebody like Wakefield to be adding it? Like Dunkin' Donuts or Honeydew or mobile gas stations, or some of the larger chain type entities that haven't done it here because we haven't offered anything yet?
Yes, there certainly could
Yes.
be.
Go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
We do see nationwide chains come through the programs. Several grocery stores and other like big box size stores often sweep through. What we see most commonly with that is that they'll make a decision at a regional or federal level and make the retrofits regardless of what local municipal dollars are available. So it's not necessarily that you've missed out or that there's this pent up demand for it that suddenly they'll all come. But certainly now that the funds are available, we'll see the CVS and the Walgreens and Price Choppers, we'll see those interact.
And when we talk about places like Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's and places like that, those are all franchised. So you may have local owners in and around Wakefield that own just a couple of stores, and for them the economics might have made what the economic effect of an incentive might have made a difference in whether they did something earlier. But in terms of especially the lighting projects, that's something that we rely on the lighting professionals, the electricians and such to go out and to sell. That's their business to do. Our job is to make it easier for them to do it and to make the program as easy for them to work with as possible.
Does anybody have any other questions? Again, we didn't have a lot of customers join us tonight, but this is all good information, and we'll share it. We'll save the video and try to forward it to. We'll send it out to that same email list that we sent our announcement out to, and see if we can start to spur some more interest.
Actually,
one thing I'd like to.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have one more question. Is this applicable at all to our municipal buildings who are also a segment of our commercial customers?
Yes, definitely. Municipal buildings
Yes.
can apply.
Great.
I was going to say this is a screenshot of the Go program website. Everything relating to the Wakefield program is going to be found under the Who We Serve pull down up at the top on the green bar in the middle. So you go there, you click on Wakefield, and all the applications will be there, program descriptions, and anything else that we need to put in will always be there.
This is on our website now too.
So one of the blurbs on this, so one of the shapes here says new construction and major renovation. Can you speak to whether that's in or out of this particular program?
That in and of itself is not always an element in the GO program. I think most of the utilities look at those on a case-by-case basis. So if there's a particular project you're looking at, let's talk about that along with Wakefield Gas and Light and see what would make sense.
At this point, I think we're trying to save those dollars for, we do have a limited budget, so we're trying to save those dollars for retrofit projects and existing structures. And I think one of the things we've tried to do is drive the new construction market by some of our more policy decisions, you know, between the green community stuff that we're trying to do around building codes and our gas moratorium that's kind of pushing folks towards the heat pump heating of large commercial and large multifamily units. So I think we get more bang for our buck by policy driven decisions in that world.
Are there any other questions? That's pretty much what we have ready for you. If, as is common with these, you think of a question 10 minutes after the meeting ends, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer any questions I can. Our phone number is available on our main website, or you could always reach me from the folks at Wakefield Gas and Light.
I did have one question that just kind of popped up. Under the custom, do automation type controls for both lighting, heating and cooling, do those fall under that type of program? So kind of thinking like, automatic light sensors as, people are, walking in and out of spaces, more AI type driven heating and cooling controls.
A portion of that is covered under the prescriptive side. So there are carved out incentives for occupancy controls that control lighting, vacancy sensors, time clock, I believe, is also on there. And there's also some rudimentary HVAC control elements that are on the prescriptive side. One of them is dual enthalpy economizing, which is a common feature on your standard rooftop unit that'll serve a small office or small retail space. Beyond that, custom controls, sophisticated energy management systems, those are going to be custom programmed and analyzed based on the specifics of that facility.
So if I actually have an outstanding proposal with one of the municipal buildings for a DDC control system, and obviously there was no incentives back then, so I could submit a custom application and I can calculate the savings, and I'm sure Ryan would do a third-party review on those, but so that would be certainly applicable by the sounds of it.
Joe, I'll let you feel that because I don't do that side of the program for you.
Yeah, if it's not one of the controls that's specifically listed in the prescriptive program, it would fall under the custom side.
Yeah.
And if it's something that makes sense that we can document that there would be savings for, I can't think of any reasons why it wouldn't be able to be included. But we'd need to look at the specifics and probably have an audit or at least a scoping audit done to take a look at the situation before we can make a decision there.
Yeah, typically I've done a technical, what other utilities call a TA study on that particular measure, and then that's third party reviewed. But we do our own. But I mean, that's fine if you want to bring somebody else in, that's fine. But that's typically the way we work.
Okay.
We don't get paid for that study if the work doesn't go forward. There's no charge for it. It's simply part of doing business.
I understand.
So Fred, do you do that? These are other munis that are part of Go or are the E&E side that,
The only other muni that I've really worked with is Reading Municipal Light Department.
yeah, so
And
that-
I've done some large VFDs on some pumping for industrial clients over there in Wilmington.
Mhm.
So, and I've talked to them a number of times on various projects. So, but the biggest one I've done was that one. I'm actually a vendor for Grid anyway, so that's usually
Okay.
where most of my work. And EverSource, I've been a TA vendor for EverSource and as well.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for the invitation, by the way.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
To Fred or anybody else who understands the language, the other pieces of HVAC control that are prescriptive are demand controlled ventilation and electronically commutated motors on HVAC fans of any kind.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Great. Any other
Are there-
thoughts or questions? Well, we'll keep trying to get the word out there about this program. I want to thank the folks at MWEC for helping us kick it off tonight. And we'll obviously share this information and try to keep getting the word out. We'll start to promote it to our customer base even further. Like I said earlier, everybody that was on our in our billing system that had an email was invited with a link, and we invited approximately 60 vendors. So we'll keep working at getting the word out, and hopefully we start to see some projects start to roll.
And
Thank
if
you
we'd
very
like to-
much.
You're welcome. If you'd like to do this again another time, Pete, just we'd be happy to.
Yep. Maybe we'll try to get if possible, maybe we'll try to invite that vendor list again and do a daytime one and see if that draws out more vendors. We can do a custom, lunch seminar type of thing for our local vendors and see if that, even though it won't be, like you said, it won't be in person, maybe we can draw more interest that way from that side of it.
Thank you as well from my side.
Well, if we don't have anything else, I appreciate everybody's time. And again, we'll save this and put it out there, and we'll keep trying to promote next steps. Thank you.
Thank you.